Well, hey there, everybody. This is Michelle from Virtual Hand Care. In this video, I have a special guest. She is going to be talking about 3 healthy habits for instrumentalists. I want to welcome Martha Paterson. Martha, thank you so much for being here today. Martha is an occupational therapist, and she's been one for 35 years. She is also a certified hand therapist, and she's a musician herself too. So she's got lots of experience. She also is the owner of Artistic Advantage in California, but she also does see musicians online, so she can reach more of you out there that are in need. Welcome, Martha. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your 3 healthy habits for instrumentalists.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, everyone. So when Michelle invited me here today, I was thinking, what is the most helpful information I can share in a short period of time? And I was thinking, what are the most frequently asked questions I get during sessions? So that's where these 3 tips came from. And essentially, what I'm usually answering questions on is people's posture, positioning, and pacing. Because whether we're at the instrument or away from the instrument, these are the things that greatly affect the impact of what happens to our body. So tip number 1, posture. Whether we're at the instrument or whether we're not at the instrument, our body pretty much knows what to do and what's best for it. However, our thinking many times overtakes what comes natural. So a violinist might be sitting in this position and very conditioned to do so. But we don't maintain that neutral posture of our sitting evenly on our sit bones or having our feet evenly on the floor all the time, because we know that when we sit at the computer, we take on a whole nother shape, don't we? Right. We kind of take on this C shape of our spine. And what happens when we do that is our shoulders come forward, our head comes forward, and we're totally overstretching the muscles in our back, which could really help us maintain a neutral spine and could help us with our musical muscles. So this isn't always mental and all of our own undoing. It is the activities that are at hand all the time are usually in front of us. Yeah. So wherever our eyes are going and our hands are going, many times the rest of the body will follow. Yes. So it's really important as we teach ourselves to transition from, okay, now I'm playing this instrument to now I'm typing, we can still keep the trunk in this upright position. It's like cross training. So we don't always have to be strengthening and exercising, even though conditioning is something that I really stress vigorously in our program, because many times we need to strengthen the postural muscles, and then we need to release the tension in the musical muscles. Many times people are overstretching, their musical muscles. Those are the ones that are moving. Yeah. So the ones with posture, we really need to understand what postural control is. So we can be in the right position at the right time, regardless if we're on our phones, if we're at the instrument, or maybe even lugging the gear to the event.
Right. Oh, that's important too. Definitely.
Yeah. The body doesn't know, Michelle, where it is it knows where it is in space. It just doesn't know what activity it's in. So it's like it can't tell one stressor from another.
Right. That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. Look good. I like that one. And so tip number 2.
Sure. And the thing I answer most often is about positioning. And it's about positioning the wrist and positioning the fingers. Okay. Because so often what I find is that musicians are hypermobile or they have joint laxity. So it's not uncommon to have a musician have a lot of wrist flexibility, or even their fingers can really bend very far back. Yeah. And some musicians even have really kind of wavy movements of their finger.
Yes, they do.
So this, as you know, is the advantage to the musician. It helps with speed, it helps with coordination, but it doesn't necessarily lead to longevity in the career. So what's really important is to always establish neutral wrist. And so often it's people aren't doing neutral wrist or taking care of their fingers, again, in their non-musical activities. So you can simply find neutral wrist by just bringing your wrist up, closing your eyes, and just gently bringing your fingers in, making a fist. So my neutral wrist is right here. Here's my knuckles, and it goes back here. So it's not back so far that you see the deep creases, and it's not so far forward or level so that it's flat or forward. So this is really important, because just simply picking up a jar, if I'm not thinking about it, or I might be injured and I want to take care of myself, I might pick this up in a non-neutral wrist way.
Yeah.
Doing this, I'm using two muscle groups instead of 5 muscle groups by putting it in the palm of my hand and using leverage.
Right.
So what is so important with positioning is knowing that positioning is power and power is leverage. So the wrist needs to be in neutral, so it can be stable, it can be stationary, it can do everything we need it to do, so that it also is there for the fingers.
Right.
Because the other positioning part of the fingers is we have these horizontal arches and we have these longitudinal arches. That's the power of the fingers. It allows us to flex and extend, go up and down, and go side to side. So when some of these arches collapse, that's when we don't have the leverage, the tissue starts to break down, can't play as much. And many times musicians don't have these challenges until they pick up a new instrument or they get new repertoire, and all of a sudden their old body movement patterns don't support the new direction that they're going with their music. So it's very, very important to really understand what body parts are moving and which ones really need to stretch, which ones need to be stable. I'd like to share with you 2 things. One is I can share with you 2 concepts within 2 stretches. A very famous stretch for musicians. They come into the clinic and say, I do my stretches. And they do this. They pull back on the fingers, hyperextend the elbow, and then they say, ow, it hurts here.
Right.
Well, and
that must be good, right?
Exactly. It must be good because I'm getting to that part that really hurts. And the other one is basically doing this.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit about technique, but the other thing is about timing. So the technique is that if you like this stretch and it works, to bring the hand up and put your hand behind here. Don't pull back from the fingers, pull back from here and let the wrinkles come in the wrist, and then advance the elbow as you're starting to feel the tension. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yes.
Then the other one often is where musicians can get spasms. So this is often with tendinitis. People will say that these muscles are cramping. And I find that if musicians have a lot of joint flexibility, this stretch will also make it worse, because the more we bend a mobile joint, the more that the adjacent muscle will go into spasm to protect it and hold it. Mm-hmm. So the best way to adjust that is just a straight elbow, make the wrist come down, and gently make a fist. We don't have to do the overpressure. We can just let it naturally release itself.
Right, right. I love even just those little tweaks, right, can make a huge difference. And those are such common stretches that people are given, but nobody takes the time to give the detail of how that can be it can be an effective stretch, right?
Exactly.
But you can also really hurt yourself if you're overdoing it or kind of counterproductive to what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just said is overdoing it. Musicians are wonderful at taking instructions and saying, hey, more is going to be better.
Right. Right.
Well, and on that kind of slides me right there into tip number 3 for today. And tip number 3 is about pacing. Pacing, when I discuss pacing, I really am talking about the big picture, because musicians don't just kind of show up just to play the instrument. It's either a lifestyle, it's a career, it's medicine, mm-hmm. It's passion. It is something that is so deeply driven within that all time and space can be lost, because it can so get into the flow. And when we're into the flow of things, our body doesn't necessarily give us clues that we can understand that say, oh, hey, I need to stop and take a break.
Right.
So there's an acronym that I remember that I use when I talk about pacing, and the acronym is FRAME, FRAME. So essentially, focus, systematic focus without obsessing. Resilience, develop resilience with rest, recovery, but reflect on repetitions. Because it's in doing that, we know how much, how far, how long. Is it good enough? Let me just let it rest and let me revisit it on another day. Awareness is using the word awareness in all of our senses. So using our hearing, using our feeling, using just basic body sensation, vibration, resonance. What am I aware of? Maybe I might even be aware of, flushing in the cheeks or warmth or something. That's that my sympathetic nervous system is working, and my parasympathetic nervous system is also trying to work to keep me in balance. Yeah. But many times thoughts will let me keep going, and I won't pay attention to my senses, and my senses were trying to give me a heads up. Hey, it's time to do something a little different. So as musicians, usually we don't have a mindset of moderation. We're looking for what feels good, what's new, what's exciting, what can I do that just makes me revisit this wonderful place. But a mindset of moderation can help us physically not go beyond what our tissue's ability is, but it can also help us mentally, because often our coping strategies and music lead us away from self-care. So we might be doing something excessively mentally. We might be relaxing and doing something like that excessively because we think it's self-care, but it's so easy for coping strategies to get mixed up with self-care. And the last part on this little acronym is E for education, and it really brings it all together. E is, how am I going to get educated on what is best for me? So you have to find out what are the best restorative, rejuvenating activities to counter all the work that you did. So how can you stay in moderation for the anatomy, physiology, and kinesiology demands of playing the instrument? What things do you need to do mentally in moderation? What do you need to be aware of? What do I need to educate myself on? How I can be resilient? How can I educate myself that I can trust that staying focused systematically will be enough, and I don't have to go into obsession land?
I'm sure many musicians are like, oh, it's like she's talking to me right now, right? How can they get a hold of you so that then they can, have you see them at their instrument, educate them, do this, kind of help them implement this framework, right?
Exactly.
How can they get a hold of you so they can implement that and work towards these, these posture and the positioning and the pacing so that they can truly be healthy at their instrument?
We have a website, and it's www.artisticadvantage.com. And also you could just reach out with an email, and that is handmedicine@gmail.com. So it's very easy for me to have Zoom sessions. I had a Zoom session the other day with a sitar player over in Vietnam.
Wonderful.
So very, very helpful, very happy to help. And many times it is just any of these things that we talked about today. It's making those slight adjustments. It's knowing how to tune your body's instrument, how to rearrange what you need to be your best composition of yourself, because we often disconnect the mind, body, music, instrument as one. And so I'm just here to help with that piece of the body and maybe wake up the mind a little bit. So you've got the rest by doing the music and playing your instrument. But I would love to hear from you. If I can have any impact or any help at all, just reach out to me at the website or the email. Again, that's handmedicine@gmail.com. And just anytime, good posture, good positioning, take care of those fingers and wrists. Yep. And pacing will allow you to have the career and the longevity and just the relationship you want to with your instrument.
Martha, this has been wonderful. You have had such valuable information. You guys, I will leave links below of where you can get a hold of Martha. So do make sure that you contact her and set up a video call with Martha. If you found this video helpful, do please give it a like and don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and share this video with your musician friends, with family members that you know that they're musicians and you want them to be able to stay healthy at their instrument. Thank you again, Martha, for being here and for sharing such valuable information. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.